Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. session of the 2025 Open Simulator Community Conference. In this session, we are pleased to introduce the presentation Preservation Challenges for the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive. Our speakers for today are Ada Radius and Shannon Broden. Ada Radius, also known as Judah Adele, is an avatar designer and costumer. She is the co founder of Arcadia Asylum Archive, focused on the recovery and restoration of the works of Arcadia Asylum and her alts in OpenSim. A work in progress. She is founder and treasurer of New Media Arts Incorporated, which is a nonprofit foundation tax exempt under IRC 501c3 2010 to present and is a retired CPA. Shannon Broden currently serves on the board for New Media Arts Inc., where she participates with Avatar Repertory Theater and assists with the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive. Her professional memberships include the Society of American Archivists and the American Library Association. Now, please check out the website found at conference.opensimulator.org for speaker bios, details of sessions, and the full schedule of events. This session is being live streamed and recorded, so if you have any questions or comments during this session, you may send your tweets to at OpenSimCC with the hashtag pound OSCC25. Welcome, everyone, and let's begin the session.
Welcome to Preservation Challenges for the Arcadium Asylum Asset Archive. My name is Shannon Broden in real life, and with me is Ada Radius, known in real life as Judith Adele. Today we are going to talk about the preservation challenges that we've run into with the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive. Today, I plan to focus on cataloging, information management, and some general technical considerations. Ada will go in depth on various work done on areas to date for the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive project. An organization called the National Digital Stewardship Alliance created 4 levels of digital preservation intended for born digital assets. While not designed specifically for virtual world assets, the steps and flow do follow with the approach that we use. Those 4 levels are knowing your content, protecting your content, monitoring your content, and sustaining your content. One thing that's important to knowing your content is establishing a clear chain of custody. One addition we made this year to the publicly available sheet listing of all the known Arcadia Asylum assets are dates of when items are actually added to our grid, because that helps determine the progress for items that users might look for as they become available. Due to the nature of what we created, many pieces include literary or media references. And we're also working on compiling an attribution list of those references that may never be complete. The Arcadia Asset Asylum Grid website and server data are on a server paid for by New Media Arts Incorporated. And those can expand to more servers with additions to our endowment. The server contents are regularly backed up to another server, and additionally, works in progress are stored on cloud servers until they can be moved to the grid. And those include things such as texture and sculpt maps, scripts, link set data, and other items. Also, there must be reliable backups of these assets because things do happen. And there's also potential for data corruption over time. Technical issues with servers or other unexpected events can lead to the need to revert to older versions. Therefore, the creation of OARs is crucial. Otherwise, all these assets that we're trying to archive, they could be lost forever. And now I'm going to give the floor to Ada Radius, who can give us a more detailed look at specific experiences working with the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive Grid to date. Go ahead, Ada.
Thank you, Shannon. Um, I wanted to go over a few more areas before I get into the why of all this. One is that we need to preserve our artist's intent, what she intended to do, the historical integrity of the piece, which is very difficult when you're moving from, say, 2007 in Second Life to 2025 in OpenSim. The platform is completely different. And so when I'm making restoration changes, I have to take that into account while trying to keep the original as best I can. Safeguarding the artwork's identity, avoiding making irreversible changes, avoiding adding elements that weren't part of the original. And I have a lot of problems with that with people who are trying to help me. Avoiding removing elements that were part of the original, however inconvenient. That's a censorship issue. And then trying to use techniques that we can revert in the future without damaging the original object. That means I've had to learn a lot of tech that I didn't know before, and I am. And eventually, there will be further, much more intrusive changes, such as the need to convert from sculpt maps to mesh, because sculpt maps are clearly being deprecated in the systems, and that the intervention is limited to only what's necessary to recover the work's readability, to avoid over restoration. I'm deeply grateful to Shannon for coming in on the project, because she pointed out that we need to document every step, which I had not been doing, and to do a better analysis to understand the digital components. And then that leaves me free to work on authenticity. In other words, figuring out if Arcadia really did make this build that someone said she made. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I've gotten so that I can tell her very distinctive texturing style, the way she structures them, her UV mapping on the sculpt maps, which is a masterclass in UV mapping, and her very distinctive sculpt maps, the stacked things, where she was actually anticipating the newer GLTV, just requires a little flip. Among the reasons why I'm doing this, why there are several very good artists in the virtual worlds that we're familiar with who are as prolific as she was or more. But the thing that grabs me, one, is how beautiful they are. Here's a grunged up subway car, and it's gorgeous. She's talking about, in this particular build, which is the Slum City build, she's talking about poverty, deep poverty and homelessness. And she's talking about the effect of commercial interests on poverty to the detriment of poor people. And that was, I felt very deeply. The entrance to Slum City is a build called the Lolly Caverns, which I didn't get for years until I started looking up all of the references that she had made. Lolly is the Japanese, and backing up a little, Arcadia Asylum, later known as Ailey, and with a few others in between, was a Japanese American. We figured out with much help from Kim Starr, who's from there, that she was from Flatbush in Queens, and I did that by examining the shape of the sewer tunnels, which are different than Manhattan or the Bronx, for example. But anyway, when you get into the Lolly Caverns, lolly is the Japanese otaku slang for Lolita. And this entire build is a diatribe against the sexual exploitation of very young teenage girls. And I recommend that you go there. If you look at the links that I put in earlier, you can get what you need in order to add the Arcadia Asylum Asset Archive to your hops, so that you can get in there and take a look. This is adult content in many cases. This is not for children. We've tried to set at least this one sim. The later ones she cheered up a little and was not quite so pornographic. But in this particular one, there's some very adult content where she's saying this is bad. This has been going on in Japan and in the United States for far too long, and we won't have it. If you see the cave woman there eating roast beast, this is how she thinks it should be dealt with. And that's strong, strong message, which once I got it, I could never, you can't unsee it after you see what she's done. After this, so anyway, when she built this on the Sogonyo sim in Second Life, someone put up a porn parlor next door, and so she tore this thing all down in 2008. And some of it went back up in the Coletta sim, but not all of it, not this lolly cabin, for example. Um, and then she got on, according to some of the interviews she gave, she got on better meds and she cheered up. And the next major build was her space sim. Here's some more pictures of the sewers underneath Slum City. You saw it in the previous slide. You saw what it looks like on top. And now we're into space. She built an enormous, elaborate set of mazes. She was also quite interested in making a maze, somewhere you could get your avatar absolutely lost and have no idea where you are. And that's true of this sewer systems in Slum City. And it's also true with some of the space stations in space. Unfortunately, this was all built, people were having space battles there. It was a wonderful place. And some dispute happened either with the owner of the region or with Linden Lab. I never was able to find out. And it all got destroyed. The only pieces that are left are some snapshots. I have a lot of snapshots that people took, and I was one of the people taking a lot of snapshots when we found out this had happened. And whatever builds were in people's inventories. She wasn't big on making backup copies of anything. She put it out there, and then she'd move on to the next thing. Backups were not in her vocabulary, but a lot of other people, but she put everything out, copyable and full perm, almost everything. There's a few things that I can't get out. And that made it, and so whatever was in people's inventories made it into bigger collections, and I've been borrowing on those. We have been, and so after that, I guess probably the next slide or the one after that, here is what we've gotten so far. She created along 12 or 13 sims in the ocean area of Second Life, this very elaborate pirates, mermaids and mermen, and a whole bunch of other underwater stuff. The Nemo and Nautilus, and an enormous amount of stuff, almost all of it with sculpt maps, which are beginning to be a technical problem for us now. And I've just started, this is over at the OpenSim side of it. I've just started assembling Pirate Town over here. There's a list over at our, one of the Google lists that's in our links, has a list of all the people who have worked on this, starting around 2014, back when we were using stored or Second Life inventory, it had two different names, which was abandonware. And I've since discovered that the textures coming in from that were not that good. And if I'm bringing in textures now, anybody can see the difference between the quality of the textures I can bring in, say through SL Cache viewer or other programs that people have promised to make for me or give to me, is the quality is much better, much clearer, better colors. So I'm doing all of it all over again. Slum City is pretty much done, except I could use some scripting help on vehicles and doors and things like that. Space, I've restored everything that I've got, but we're going to need a hotshot builder to look at the images of what the space station, for example, used to look like and see if we can recreate it from the bits and pieces we do have. And we got about 1,000 builds left to go in the Blake Sea and Fancy Deep oceanic stuff. And I think I'm just about out of time. Do we have questions? Let me look at the chat.
Yes, I don't think I saw any questions yet, but does anybody have questions that they'd like to propose? And I used a lot of her stuff on my steampunk build that I did as
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the LEA sims I was given with the Linden Endowment for the Arts.
Yeah, she
Beautiful
did some
stuff.
beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And all of it free. Her terms of service was do not charge even one linden for this. And And it's amazing, amazing artwork. We have discovered, among other autobiographical details, is that she probably worked for Ghibli Studios before she retired.
Studio
And
Ghibli, okay, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah,
Sun Tzu actually gave us
that's neat.
gave
Yeah,
Kayaker Magic has been my teammate until recently. He's off hiking and kayaking and stuff. But anyway, um, Kayaker has been kayaking. Go figure. Anyway, so
Sun Tzu
that's up at the
kayak too.
website. Yeah. So so it's yeah, that was a revelation because I compared that to her Howl's Moving Castle in Second Life, and I went, oh yeah, this is the same build. She must have designed it. And I went
Yeah,
to watch the movie a few more times, going, holy moly, she did work for them. She never would talk about it
yeah,
in her interviews. She just said she used to work for in CGI hell. And I'm going, okay, it fits. And so she had incredible, incredible technical skills for 3D modeling and texturing before coming in. And
yeah,
then
she gave
on
me a
her
bunch of
return,
the diagrams from Howl's Moving
yeah,
Castle.
those are the ones.
Those that haven't seen them before. She had 2 of the castles. There was one that was just a large avatar. The other one was an entire sim size. So you put this thing on and
Yes.
you're 256 by 256, you
Yes.
know? It was
Yeah.
huge.
I haven't figured out how I'm going to restore that yet. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna bring it out if I can, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. But if that's still open for, we have the space on the server for it. We could do it. So we'll figure
or in
something
a
out.
bar region or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how she had displayed it before. Um, that
I
was
don't
in the
think she
era.
did. I think she just had it in the boxes there in Second Life that you could pick up.
Okay. Okay. So she never had it out anywhere for people to
Yeah.
tour. There's a
And if
lot of
you ever
that.
need any of her stuff that you can't find, let me know because I can
I
go into
will.
my Second Life inventory. I might have it as well.
Yeah, I started out, there used to be a program where you could make a list of everything in your inventory by creator. And that was the start of the spreadsheet that Shannon showed you earlier. It was just from my collection. And I had things that other people didn't have. For example, Ian McCracken was a tiny in Second Life, and he knew her that much better than I did. I only actually charted with her a couple times, but he knew her. And she gave him a tiny sized hover scooter for the space from the space installation.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
we were the only ones that had it. Nobody, she did never distributed it anywhere other than handing it to him.
That's cool. Yeah,
So
the
yeah.
one I loved from her was those little, steampunk, almost like, um, flying ships. They were really cool because
Oh
we had
yes.
it set up and everybody just kinda do, like, bumper cars in the sky. It was awesome.
Yeah. It
By the
really.
Hey,
way,
Ada.
Lisa Laxon
Yeah.
mentioned that, reach out to me on script help for the project because I know of many of the scripts and issues, when we imported in or of earlier, off for OS Fest. So
Yes. Yeah.
she'll help you with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Some of those scripts no longer work in Second Life. A lot of them work in Second Life and don't work in OpenSim. And we want to get scripts that do the same thing that they did in Second Life, which
Yeah.
means someone who can see both sides of it.
Yeah, and
Ada, I
Lisa
was gonna
says that
say,
she can modernize those. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say we've just got a couple of minutes left, so maybe we should let people know how best to find us, maybe how best to find the grid, whatever
Okay.
to close this
I
out.
put links in the chat earlier. I can put them in again. Can I put them in again? No. There they are. Okay. The New Media Arts is of the parent. I mean that it runs this project. And there's the link to the website, which will also give you the hop information and our Discord group, where we have several projects. This one, Avatar Repertory Theater, New Viewer Avatar Max, and Kayaker's got the Metaverse Registration Agency. All projects of New Media Arts Inc. And that's where you can find us. My Discord tag is Ada Radis, and my email. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I think obviously I think it's worth doing, and I've been poking at this for over a decade now. and we're getting somewhere. We're going to have installations of everything that we possibly can get
Very cool.
out.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Ada and Kretya, for such an informative and interesting presentation today. We really do appreciate it. As a reminder to our audience, you will want to check out conference.opensimulator.org to see what is coming up on the conference schedule. You won't want to miss our next session, which will begin at 5 p.m. in the keynote region, and is entitled Virtual Education Journal, VEJ, to Infinity and Beyond. Also, we encourage you to visit the OSCC 25 Poster Expo, which is located in the OSCC Expo 3 region, to find accompanying information on presentations and to explore the hypergrid resources, which are in the OSCC Expo 2 region, along with the sponsor and crowdfunder booths, which are located throughout all of the OSCC Expo regions. Thank you again to our speakers and to you, our audience.